Welcome back, Discovery viewers. Today we got something special. Danie over here, who's totally not prepared right now. Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
So Danie is been working on an interesting case, and I asked him to take all his stuff out of the lab into the studio because we have a lot of other client stuff.
Okay, so we had a case recently where somebody came in with a phone, and when we opened it up and they said we want to image the phone, it looked like this. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this basically means that the phone doesn't have any data on it. That somebody's performed a wipe on the device, and unless there's data in iCloud or backup on a computer, you're probably not going to get access to the actual data. So now the question is, did the data on here get wiped after there was a request to turn the device over, or was this wiped in the general course of using a phone and saying, oh, I got a new phone, I wiped out my old one, I didn't transfer my data, perfectly innocent. So the question is, the timing is relevant because we could be dealing with spoliation of evidence here. Now, this is a test phone that we use, so I'm not actually doing this on a real client phone, and we would use extreme caution when using a method like this because there is the possibility of damaging the data on the device. In order to get access to the files that we're going to need to jailbreak this phone. So we're going to use this process, and zoom in over here for a sec. So we're going to go over to this site. Now, again, not recommended if this is an important device that you have to get data off of in a forensic way. I mean, there's probably nothing going to be on here, but again, all caution to the wind when you're doing jailbreaking. Don't do it on a computer that you actually care a lot about, because a lot of these things are a little bit risky to run on a computer that you actually are going to use in production. But we're going to play a little game here and see what we can get off of this phone.
Awesome, let's do it. All right, so what Danie is doing is he's basically jailbreaking this phone. Again, it's okay to do because this is our internal phone we use for testing, so we can do whatever we want with it. However, when we're going to use it on the client's phone, we'll probably need to get a permission from a client.
You do not want to do this unless this is a device that you're never going to have any warranties on, that you have to worry about anything that you're going to do with ever again. You could brick the phone where it wouldn't even turn on again. But the idea here is we have nothing to lose data-wise because the phone has been wiped out and there's no way to recover that.
Right.
What we want to do is get access to the underlying file system, which we cannot do unless the phone is jailbroken, meaning we have administrator access to the device and we can actually get into the file system and see what's there.
And one of the key points here is this process is repeatable, so that if we were to do this process and turn over evidence and we can give this phone to somebody else, they'll be able to do the same thing again. They'll be able to jailbreak it again and get the same information over, which is important in forensic process, unless we brick it.
Yeah, so if you brick the phone, so this process, anytime you're trying to get additional information off of the device that isn't available through an iTunes backup process or the normal Apple ecosystem process, you're doing something to the device that is not made to be done. You could be doing something destructive, and in that case, you could actually break that forensic chain where if somebody else were to take the phone, you've already jailbroken it, you've already modified the file system, there's a possibility that that's not going to be repeatable. So you really want to document exactly what you're doing.
So that's why you're going to have pictures, screenshots, videos, everything when and if you're going to be doing it on an actual client's.
Right. You want to. This is a process you want to absolutely document. You want to go over it. You want to test it. You want to make sure that you know what the results are going to be before you run it.
In fact, if we're doing it for real, maybe we'll do it in the studio right here, so we could actually film this for our client. We have the space set up already. I think we're ready for part two. Danie went back, he did some investigating, testing. So Danie, I believe, is ready to report on what he found. I'm just gonna move you guys over here so we could see.
Okay, so we went through the jailbreaking process. We got root access to the phone. We extracted the entire file system beyond what you would normally get out of most extractions from an iPhone. And now we have that file system loaded up into NK. So let's take a look at
right.
what we can see here.
Let me grab you over here. So
Okay.
this is EnCase we're looking. Everyone knows what EnCase kind of looks like.
Right, so if you are familiar with the standard iPhone extractions, unless you have something that gives you root access, you're not going to see all of this file system data, but since we included a root in this process, we are able to see it. So if I go into this directory and I look at these two files bootstrapped and obliterated here, and we look at the item entry date, 12/26/2019 at 9:09 p.m., that is the date that this device was wiped. I know that because I was the one that did it. So now we have an accurate date and time of the iPhone restore, and we can now determine whether or not that iPhone was wiped in the normal course of business or if it was wiped after there was a preservation order that was put into place, and we can determine whether somebody has committed spoliation of evidence.
Awesome. That's really cool investigating and very interesting exploit. So what we'll do is we'll talk to our client, we'll let them know what the options are, and they will make a decision whether to proceed with the real phone or not.
Now, the other caveat, just to remember, this is a process that could be destructive to the device. You are making changes to the device. If you are trying to not modify it at all, then do not follow this process, or let your client or whoever it is that you're dealing with know that this is going to be a modifying situation, something that you may not be able to reverse. Now, you can remove the jailbreak, you can remove as much of the stuff as you can. Just be aware that because you're violating Apple's normal process, you're doing something that goes around that in order to get additional data. So because you're going around the process that you normally use in order to get at information on your iPhone, and around what Apple would authorize, you have to make that explicitly clear and get authorization from whoever the owner of the device is, if that's possible. There are situations, I'm sure, where that's not possible and you just need to get further access to the device, but keep that in mind. This is not something that you would standard do if you're just trying to extract text messages or things like that. This is an extra step to get file system data that goes beyond the normal extraction.
And we're trying to prove a specific point.
Correct.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Danie. Guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget, as usual, to follow vDiscovery on social media networks listed on your screen. And for more videos, check us out on YouTube.